Morning, Eddie.
Hey, sir.
How is Alexander Isak?
Good question. Find out more today. I think it was a strange run with his eye, so the ball just grazed his eye. And we felt at that time that was the main reason for him coming off the pitch. Then he had a knock to his foot as well, so he's got sort of a combination of the two. We'll make a decision today.
Did he pick up the knock at Wolves as well?
Yeah, both towards the end of the half.
Your options then, without Alexander Isak, maybe a bit limited. Can you tell us what the situation is with Callum Wilson this week too?
Yeah, Callum won't make the game. I think we're looking with Callum to be the next international break. We hope to have him back in full training, ready for the games following. So, of course, that leaves Anthony, who did a really good job for us against Wolves, and Willisula, who's done really well since he's been with us. I know he hasn't played any minutes yet, but we've been delighted with his progress. He's got all the tools. So, we feel we've got good cover.
As you mentioned, Willie Musula hasn't played for you yet. He's been an unused substitute so far, but he was pretty impressive in the friendly at St James's that he played. This could potentially be a big few days for him, couldn't it, with the cup tie at Wimbledon following Fulham?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's someone that we really do like. There's always a process. I think it's a big move for him. He's adapted well to that, I have to say. He's very mature, comes in with a big smile on his face every day, committed to his work. We've begun the process of developing his game and just smoothing out some areas that we feel need development. And of course, just getting him to understand what we do and how we play. But I've got really high hopes for him.
And another forward player we've not seen a lot of is Miguel Almiron. And I suppose when you think of Fulham against Newcastle, you'll always remember that wonderful goal he scored 2 seasons ago. Is he in a condition to start for you again if you need him to, Almiron? Yeah,
absolutely. I think Miggy has trained well this week. He came back in a really good place from his international games where he did really well and got some good minutes under his belt. So I think he, like the other players that played in the summer tournaments, had limited training time, but we're delighted always with his attitude and how committed he is. But I feel he's in a much better place now.
What do you make of what you've seen from Fulham so far this season?
Yeah, I think always a very good team and a lot of time for Marco and his style of play. I think he's produced a team that are full of energy, pace in the right areas, really good football team, always try to play the game in the right way. Very efficient attacking team. I think they've added a couple of really good players this summer, both in attack and defence. So it's always a difficult game then. They've been tight affairs. No game's easy in the Premier League. I know we say that and it's a well-used expression, but when you look at our away games this year, Bournemouth and Wolves have both been very difficult for us. And we expect this to be the same, but knowing from our perspective that we'll do everything we can to win.
Finally, you'll be aware of the table and the current standings. You go top if you win on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I only found that out this morning, actually. Sort of head down into the work as always and not really aware of the other fixtures this weekend. I think that'd be nice for us. It's a great motivation for us this weekend. Of course, it means nothing because it's so early, but that's where we want to be.
Thanks, Razor. Andy, PLP?
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, last season we saw quite a few freak injuries. Were you rather hoping that you'd left the freak injuries, the strange injuries in last season after Alex Isak last week?
Yeah, I always think you're going to get the odd thing during the season. Of course you will. I thought last season was incredible with the amount of strange ones we had and ones that were difficult to work out why, whether that's 2 shoulder injuries really from innocuous situations or Dan landing on his back and etc. etc. But I think let's see with Alex. Let's see. Hopefully it's not too bad.
Not sure if you've seen, but only Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool have got more points than Newcastle United since you actually took over the job nearly 3 years ago. I know you're not one for stats. I know you're not one for things like that, but that's a pretty proud record.
No, I am one for stats if they favour us. I'm very statistically driven in terms of trying to identify things that you think can help the team, but I don't think they are the be all and end all. But I think it's nice to hear. I don't sit and waste time on things like that because that doesn't really directly affect the next result or your team's performance. But I think it's nice to know that, especially for the players, that we are a good team and we've been consistently a good team. That the The danger with that is it doesn't predict the future. The future is ours to make. So as much as we have done well for that period of time, we have to continue to do well.
Just on Harvey Barnes, you described him as the best finishing winger that you've seen. I mean, you're not normally that effusive with hyperbole with things like that. What makes him the best finishing winger that you've seen, apart from obviously the way he takes his goals?
Yeah, I just think he's got a real coolness in front of goal. I mean, and of course it's related to his technical ability. He's got this way that he strikes the ball. As I say, he's got the composure, but also his positioning is very good. You don't score the amount of goals that he has without getting into the right areas. So he's got that gift for being in the right place at the right time. I mean, I think you look at his goal on Sunday, that wasn't about necessarily his position, that was about his ball striking ability. No, he's got really unique talents. We really like him, and he's a really humble lad as well. He wants to do well. He's prepared to work for the team. He's prepared to do all the off the ball stuff that we need. So I'm delighted with how he started the season.
We spoke to him yesterday, and like any player, he naturally wants to start. How close do you think he is to regularly starting in this Newcastle United 11?
Well, I think regularly starting is going to be down to him. That's going to be down to him in his performances. There's going to be no guarantees given on that, and that's the same for any player. You earn your place by how you perform week in, week out. He's certainly done his chances of starting from the bench no harm, because that's what you can only affect, is when you're not starting the game, is when you come onto the pitch, you give so much and you make an immediate impact that you try and force the manager's hand in the next team selection.
His celebrations certainly become iconic. I noticed on Sunday, obviously, Bruno had to have a quick word with him. Does Bruno celebrate goals on the training pitch like he does on a match day? Because it's becoming quite a feat amongst fans now.
I don't know, really. I don't really look at individual players' celebrations. You might know more than me, but I actually really like the celebration aspect, because I think that can tell you a lot about where your team's at. So individually, I always encourage players that score to celebrate. Embrace the moment, embrace your own supporters if you can. I really encourage the team to celebrate together as well, because I think it's what you're working for. You're working for those moments where you can unite together and celebrate each other's successes. So I think that does tell you a lot about the inner dynamics and the workings of the team. Of course, then you've got to get your refocus back very quickly, because the game's going to restart. So then there's actually benefits for you coming together to celebrate together, to actually refocus on the next moment in the game.
Just finally, we talked to Alex Isak. What about the other team news looking into this weekend? Joe Willock obviously featured against Wolves. Lewis Miley as well. What's the other team news from a Newcastle perspective? Yeah,
Lewis Miley's still a long way off. He's not. He's back on the grass, but he's not back with us. So he's a long way. Still got the long-term injuries. I don't think we've got anything fresh apart from Alex.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha, BBC.
Morning, Eddie. The other two subs that you brought on, Willock and Tonali, are they pushing as well to start? And is Tonali ready to start if you need him?
They're certainly pushing to start, and I want everyone pushing to start. And that's the beauty of our recent performances, is the players coming on the pitch in whatever situation we've been in have impressed. And certainly the last 2-3 team selections have been difficult for that reason. Sandro, I think Sandro's in a much better place than he was. The 2 international games would have definitely helped him. And I think you saw that in his performance against Wolves. He was very good. Got really good competition for places in midfield at the moment.
We've got that strange thing of a wonderful start, but without really hitting fifth gear. How are you managing that? Because there's got to be a lot of satisfaction from the results, but I guess you still want more from that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things to say on that. I think no game's easy. So I know there's, for myself, there's obviously critiquing the team and going, we can do better. But when you go to Wolves and away from home, and we had total control of the game for 20 minutes, we lost that control. Then the second half was a bit transitional. We managed to find a way to it. That's something we didn't do last year away from home. So I'm more than happy to take those types of wins, because you're never going to dominate your opponent. Or, of course, that's your wish, but it's difficult to dominate your opponent for the whole game, especially away. So sometimes you have to accept the game's not going to be totally controlled, but you need to do well in the big moments, and that's what we've done. I think overall, yes, I've been hard on the players in the respect that I want more, but still acknowledging that there's a lot of good qualities in our performances as well.
And just finally for me, is there much work going on at the moment in terms of new deals for players?
I'm slightly detached from that, so I can't give you any details. I think it's always something that's on the club's mind in the respect of making sure we protect the long-term interests of the club with players' contracts and we don't get in difficult situations. So that work's always ongoing.
Thanks, Nisha. Thanks, broadcasters. I'll go to Written's. Damien?
Hi, Eddie. On at the weekend when you brought Kieran Trippier on at a difficult moment in the game, he seemed to steady the ship a bit and calm everyone down. Is that one of the reasons you were so keen to keep him here, that kind of influence on the team?
Yeah, I do think he has he has really strong qualities in his game, and composure and decision making on the ball is definitely one or a couple of those qualities. Also, his longer ball passing, his range, his creativity around the box. He brings a lot with the ball. We've been really good down his side of the pitch since he's been at the football club, in no small part down to the relationships he's had with the players around him, but his quality of his work. So yeah, that's what you hope for when you bring him onto the pitch, that he can demonstrate that. I thought he did really well on Sunday, and I think he's in a good place.
And just alluding to what Nisha was asking about there, how close do you think your team is to clicking?
Well, hopefully very close, but I think if you look back the last couple of years, I think there's a lot of games where you're not, in the fifth gear, whatever bracket you want to put it in, but you can still win games in third and fourth, and that's what we didn't do well enough last year. I think it's very rare you get into those moments where everything's going your way, and that's of course what we're looking for, and I think there has to be an improvement in sort of key aspects of our game, which we're working towards.
Thanks, Damien. We'll go to Dominic, then Lee, and then Ian.
Morning, Eddie. You touched on it before regarding player contracts, but a lot of talk this week about Sean Longstaff's contract situation, potential of a new deal. Given the PSR situation surrounding the club, how important is it you secure players like him and other players who could potentially leave for nothing, secure their future?
Yeah, I think you're talking more broadly, going back to Joelinton's situation when his contract was getting to a delicate time. Losing players to free transfers is not something that we want to be fighting, really, as a football club, for many different reasons, and probably the biggest is it's a distraction for the players. I don't think, in my experience, players tend to play well when they start running their contract down into that last year. It's a very uncertain time for them. So I think we want the players at their best. We want to protect the asset value of the individual player as well, and to replace any player that's in and around our squad is going to cost us a lot of money. So we've got to be very careful with those decisions. Yeah,
and Rodri from Manchester City, who you play next week, spoke about the possibility of players going on strike due to the nature of the hectic fixture schedule. Just wondering what your thoughts are on that, given how much you suffered from a hectic fixture schedule last season.
Yeah, I think it's different for us. I think we're not being in Europe, I think it changes the dynamic this season. But certainly for the players that are in the Champions League and full internationals, their schedule is intense, very, very intense. Now they get well rewarded for that, but it's takes a real toll on their bodies first and foremost, and of course then you've got the mental aspect. So I think it's a difficult one for me to sort of be forceful on, because we're in a different situation this year where we're not going to have the intensity of games we had last year. We're week to week in the Premier League. Of course, we hope to have really good cup runs. The international players have a different dynamic again. We always need to think about the welfare of the players. It is so important. They're the guys that produce the product. So there's a lot, but of course there's a lot that goes into it with TV revenue and various competitions. So it's for someone else to decide.
Thanks, Tom. Go to lead rider.
Hi, Eddie. Just on the week-to-week build-up of games now, you haven't got Europe. You've obviously been able to maybe take a breather and watch some of the European games. How's it been working on the training pitch, having more time to enjoy with the players?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've sort of seen the full benefit of that. I mean, of course, this week, yes, there was European competition, but we had a six-day lead in to this game because of the Wolves game. So that felt actually quite intense. Then we've got the cup game next week. So it feels like it's a busy spell for us. But I think we will benefit. Our Premier League form will hopefully benefit from not having the intensity of games that we had last year, especially around December. That was the real time when we sort of failed to deal with that with the injuries that we had. I think before that we were really enjoying it, and I thought we were relatively stable in the respect that we were able to rotate the team and put good teams out onto the pitch. It was only December that really hurt us.
And obviously what happened last season, finishing 7th, has that made you hungrier? Has it made the squad hungrier to succeed this season?
I see a really motivated team, motivated squad of players that want to do something special this year. I have no issues with the mindset of the group. The commitment to our training has been very good so far. Players have been in different places. I said that many times with the summer, and I think we're in a much better place than we were in terms of the overall fitness levels of the group. So yeah, it's early days, but we're very motivated to do well this season.
And just finally, obviously you can't go top of the table for a brief time. Are you in a position where you feel you can challenge for that top spot this season, or is it too early and should be looking at probably challenging for top 5?
Setting me up here, I think.
No, I'm not.
I think, as I said earlier, I think it's very early. There can always be an overreaction to both ways at this stage of the season. If you start poorly, I think there's an overreaction, and if you start well, there can possibly be an overreaction. I think for us, it's about just staying very calm and just trying to win every game that we play. And the next game is always the focus. Fulham's away is a difficult game. It's a really nice stadium to play in. We look forward to going there. But it's a tough game. And then, of course, we have the cup game. So we're just taking it step by step. We're not making any long-term predictions or statements. But it's about trying to get to our best levels.
Thanks, Lee. Go to Ian, Chris, and then Scott. Ian.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
When the sides are losing games, a lot of managers claim that they'd be more worried if performances weren't good. Do winning managers worry when performances aren't quite what they're looking for?
Yes, I think there's been a certain element of that in my head where I want the players to be aware that there's more to come. But as I said earlier, in answer to a question, that there's been a lot of our performances that have been good. It's just we haven't been consistent within the game. So I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that we've played consistently poorly. We haven't. We've just been inconsistent within the games. And it's a case of trying to find that consistency within the match so we don't give our opponents any momentum in a game when potentially we have control of it. So, but there's 2 teams to every game, and the level is so high. So we're talking small percentages that we can improve, but that will hopefully make the difference for us.
Just looking at team selection, obviously every player has got their own strengths and their own weaknesses. If you take Sean Longstaff out of the side, what does the team lose?
Well, it's just got to look at Sean's qualities. Sean's qualities are highly intelligent, understands the team's objectives, whether that's in and out of possession. Technically very good player. He's got a goal in him and high energy. You look at his running data week to week, it's usually one of the highest in the Premier League, so he brings a lot of energy to the team. So they're his strengths. That's what we would miss if he's not playing.
Because it was about this time last year when a lot of people came around to the fact that, Newcastle at that time looked a better side with Sean Longstaff in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's always difficult to talk about one player in such detail, but Sean's been very, very good since I've been here as manager. He's been, I think, brilliant to work with from my perspective. I think his general performances have improved. He's still got areas to work on, like every player has, but he's been fundamentally important to the stats that Andy gave earlier. The team's performed really well, and he's played near enough when he's been fit every game. So the competition now in midfield is higher than it's ever been. So he's going to know and be very aware of that he's competing against very good players for his starting place. That is a battle that I hope elevates every single one of those players to play even better than they think they're capable of.
Thanks, Ian. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. You mentioned earlier that the two internationals will have served Sandro Tonali well in terms of fitness-wise, but is there also the need to sort of protect him a little bit in terms of the load that he might have in such a short period of time, having not played so much? Is that coming into selection decisions as well?
Yeah, we'll always take an overview of everything, and it's never as simple as maybe people say, and it's maybe not as complicated as we try and make it. But I think whenever there's a big spike in load, so whether there's a big jump in any type of physical area with the players, we have to be a little bit mindful of that and protect them. But Sandro's very keen to play. We're very keen to see him play. But as I said just a second ago, the competition for places in midfield is probably as strong as I've ever had here. And you've got internationals all fighting for starting spots. So Sandy will play. He'll get his opportunities like he did against Wolves on Sunday, and he's got to grab them with both hands.
And just on another midfielder, Joe Willock was obviously missed a lot of last season as well, and he's had his injury this year. He seems to bring unique qualities to the side. Is that fair, and how much has he been missed in terms of what he does bring?
It is fair. I think you could see that on Sunday. I think it was really evident, his running ability, his ball carrying ability, his creativity around the box. Slightly unpredictable, Joe. You never quite know what he's going to do, but that's a strength, not a weakness. That unpredictability is really good from an attacking perspective. And he's very popular with the players. I think they see his qualities, they know what he can bring. So a foot and fully flying Joe Willock is a real asset for us.
Thanks, Chris. We're going to Scott, Jordan, and then Mark.
Just off the back of that, really, Eddie. I mean, last season it was very rare. Obviously it wasn't really because of Sandro's situation that you had Joe Linton, Sandro, Willock, Longstaff, Bruno all fit. I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but is this now the toughest midfield selection kind of conundrum you've had in your time here? Just because kind of whoever you leave out is going to have very valid reasons to be playing.
Yeah, I think so. But these are the decisions that when we signed those players that we wanted and we felt we needed, especially for a season in the Champions League. And then when you add Louis Miley to that group, you've got 6 outstanding centre midfield players. But a club like ourselves, with the ambitions that we have, we need that strength and depth, and we possibly don't have that in other positions in the squad. So my wish is that they all stay fit, they all push each other, and I have some really tough decisions to make.
And just secondly, if it is to be Anthony up front, or if at some stage it is to be Anthony playing through the middle, I mean, we've all seen he can do that. We've seen him do it for Newcastle. We've seen him do it for England under 21s, obviously, in the tournament. But he is clearly a very different player in that area than either Alexander or Callum would be. Now, I know you'll say you tailor the way you attack to lots of different things, but does there have to be fairly major changes to the way you attack as a team and look to construct attacks if it is Anthony through the middle?
Not really. No, we work to a detailed plan, and that plan can be adapted to any individual. Obviously, we'd need to work with the player in those movements. But I think Anthony's a really intelligent player. He's multi-talented. He can play anywhere across the front three. He can possibly even play as midfielder. So I think he's got the skills that adapt to that position. And as you say, he's got the experience of playing for us there, England there, and scoring goals and doing very well. So I would have no doubts.
Thanks, Scott. Jordan?
Hi, Eddie. You mentioned about Callum Wilson not being available until the next international break. Why is it taking so long for Callum to recover? Has it been a complex injury, perhaps a more complex injury than what you initially thought?
I think any injury to the hamstring is potentially complex. There's been no re-injury. It's just a case of readjusting the timescales, really, depending on how he felt. So we've had to listen to his body when he's delivered the work, and we've just felt he's been rescanned, obviously, that it's maybe not as healed as quickly as we'd hoped. So a slight adjustment, and but hopefully we'll have him back fully fit and firing for the next group of games, which will be really important. We have missed him. I think we've really missed his energy and what he brings to the squad, the players, and have missed the competition that he brings.
You mentioned the back injury there. The hamstring injury. Is that a fresh injury? Has he recovered from the back injury?
Yeah, the back injury is there, but it was sort of connected. So, he's working his way back, and he's looking good at the moment.
And how is he? Because I'd imagine it's not an easy time for him being unavailable.
Yeah, he's been fine. I think there's always an initial disappointment because it was just, I think, very early into pre-season when he picked up the injury, and he was really looking forward to the season. He was in a great place, and I think, when you're going to miss the early part of the season, there's that I'm not going to play early on. Is it going to be, how's the season going to unfold for me from that point? There's a lot of doubts that go into the player's head. But then after you get over that initial disappointment, you just see the return date and you just fight then to get back as quickly as possible. And Callum is doing that. But I think sensibly, the medical team are managing him and making sure he comes back at the right time.
Thanks, Jordan. Mark, Douglas?
Eddie, the 2 away games you played this season, you picked up 4 points. Last season you only picked up 1 point from those 2 games. How satisfying is that, and what have you sort of changed about your performances and set up away from home, or is it just a question of having players available?
I think, as I've said many times, we set up slightly differently for every opponent. I don't think you can. Every opponent is very different, so you can't go in with one plan. That's what we do, and that's what we do again and again and again, because you're not adjusting then for the opponent's strengths, but you're not exploiting their potential weaknesses. So every game plan is bespoke to our next opponent, so you can't really draw parallels to last year. Of course, the more players you have to select from, the deeper the pool, the more options you have to play certain players against direct opponent that might be a better fit for us. But I just think in the 2 away games we've dug in really well. In difficult moments in the game we've hung in there, and then we've taken our chances when they've come.
And just finally, following on from last week, has there been any contact between you and Paul this week, or is it something that you've just kind of forgotten about really this week?
I'm not going to, go into every week in terms of our contact, but collaboration, as I've said last week, is what we're looking to do to take the club forward.
Thanks, Mark. And goes to Craig and then Louise.
So, have you spoken to Paul this week?
I think I just answered that one, Craig.
I'm
not going to go there.
You're not going to go there?
No.
Would it be good, beneficial, if you and others, him, whoever at the club, did sit down and have a conversation and address some of the sort of concerns there's been?
Yeah, I mean, just so people know, I've had conversations with senior members of the board this week, so I'm in regular communication with them. And as I said, trying to collaborate, trying to work together for the benefit of the club always. And that's always in my heart. And that will always be while I'm manager of the club.
And you said something after the game last week, that your focus has got to be on unifying sort of yourself, your staff, the players and supporters. Is that still the message? Is that your concentration? That's where you can make your gains?
It has to be. It has to be. And I'm always the first one to say the players are the most important people. For me, my direct work is always about the players and trying to get them in the best frame of mind to win football matches. The tighter the group, the more we come together, the better for everybody. And I include the supporters in that as well, because I think they can directly affect the players as well on the pitch. So creating the best environment, the whole club united on that front is basically all we need to get results. Now the other stuff is hugely important, boardroom level and behind the scenes, but that's more for the transfer windows and all those kind of things. But at the moment we can't affect that, so let's come together. And I think the players really have. I think we've got a really good team spirit, a really good tight group, and now it's about getting us consistently to play well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Louise?
Hi, Eddie.
Hey.
There seems to be a sort of school of thought that sometimes, particularly after a big tournament summer, if players are undercooked a little bit, if that's the word, in pre-season training, it can be to the benefit later in the season, and that performances can gradually improve. I mean, given that it was a big tournament summer and that you've had James Bunce come in, who presumably has tweaked a few things here and there, is that the situation with you, or is that totally rubbish?
No, I wouldn't say it's totally rubbish. I think you've got some really valid points there. I think with tournament football, it does affect the players. I mean, how can it not? So they've had emotionally a lot of the players that have played in those tournaments, especially the ones that have gone late into the tournaments, have had a big emotional time. They've had a big physical load and then a big come down and a short break, and then they've been asked to go again. And I think naturally that is easier maybe for some players than others. I think we just have to look at our group. I can't look at the others in the Premier League, and I think there may be a bounce hopefully later on in the season. It may take a little bit longer for them to get to their best levels. I think we're better than we were a few weeks ago. I think at the start of the season we were, I don't know whether undercooked's the right word, but there were some players that were undercooked and weren't in their best physical condition, but we felt the best way to get them there was to try and play them, try and get them fit through games. And I think you've seen that probably show in some of our performances.
Thanks, Louise. Finish with Martin and then Gary.
Hi, Eddie. Just to go back to that, how unified is the club as a whole right now?
Yeah, I think the club is unified. Yeah, I don't see any issues. Depends where you're talking about that unification, but the unification between me, the players, the supporters, and the board, I think, is really strong.
And obviously, going back to Germany, how content do you feel in your position at the minute?
Yeah, I'm really happy. As I've said many times, I'm enjoying the work with the players. I love the group that we have. I really do enjoy coming into work to plan training and to execute training with them. I think we're on a journey together. I hope that journey can stay.
And as has been mentioned, you can go top this weekend. How far do you feel you're away from those top two teams, Manchester City and Arsenal, right now?
I don't see how we can compare ourselves to them currently, but the aim is to get there. The aim is to close the gap every day, every week. That's what we're working towards. That has to be our aim, longer term aim and short term aim, and that's what I'm trying to work towards.
Thanks, Martin. Gary, to finish.
Morning, Eddie. Just going back briefly there to the future transfer window. How important is it to tie down Alexander and Anthony, get the contract sorted, to stop another window of speculation for the fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think having your players secure in their futures is key to their performances. I said that earlier on. You don't want the transfer speculation, the contracts potentially running into shorter terms, because I just think it distracts and rarely it benefits the player or the club. So my wish is that the players are always focused on their performances. The outside distraction is minimal, and our best way to do that is to get them secure and happy. But of course there's a balance, because wage structures, PSR, we can't be reckless with what we do either. So we have to get those calls right. But of course, getting those players to play at their best levels will have a dramatic effect on our season.
Would you say that's probably the club's top priority before January, trying to get one or both sorted?
Well, I think if there's issues with either player or any player, then of course, communication, resolving any issues, that's really important.